In this video, we're going to be using the yarn that I made in the last video to make a woven wall hanging. So let's get started. First and foremost, I want to thank the people who commented in the last video that were encouraging about this yarn because I was feeling really unsure about it. You guys made me more excited to actually just weave with this and try it, so that's what we're gonna do today. So to get started on this weaving, I decided for this one that everything's gonna be really dark because it is a night landscape. So I'm using 8/8 black cotton to warp 36 total strings onto my flat pack frame loom. As always, you can find the tools, materials, everything listed in the description box below. For the fringe for this one, I'm using Lion Brand Woolies. So that's not the Woolies Thick and Quick, this is the Woolies. It's a more of a worsted weight. And I'm using that for the fringe using 3 strands at a time. And then I wove about 2 inches just using plain weave. And this will be where sort of the mountain landscape I'm thinking of adding to this piece will be needle felted. All right, so we're ready to start weaving with this actual yarn. I am excited to see just kind of how it weaves up. And I'm gonna do it the same way I've been doing all these pieces lately. So I'm gonna grab about 3 arms lengths because this is the amount that I find works for me without being annoying. So I'm gonna be using a 7/8 inch dowel at the top. And I figured out a few videos ago that in order to hang this directly from the loops onto that thickness of a dowel, I'm gonna leave myself about 3.5 inches here at the top. So I'll just have a measuring tape out to make sure that I'm not going beyond that. For this, I'm just weaving over 2, under 2. This is a really bulky yarn. This one even more so than some of the other ones. I don't know why, but it was some areas, as you can see, were spinning up really, really bulky. I think it's because my strands that I was spinning from were a lot thicker this time. So it was like a little bit more difficult to thin it out as I went. And I might actually grab a pickup stick for this just so that I don't agitate the yarn too much because agitation plus wool equals felt. Here is where I am gonna cut some of this off because I'm entering another section of quite a lot of navy. So, and I'm almost done this piece, so it's not like a huge loss. I'm gonna just go ahead and pull out another 3 arms lengths and just see where this is headed. So there's a really dark black section, but there's some really pretty blue happening as well. So I think I'll just go for it. I think trying to strategically place this yarn and any yarn kind of like this would be a little bit tricky, to be honest. And actually, I think I want to end this kind of in the middle. And as I get closer to the top, I'm not going to be using the pickup stick anymore just because it gets a little bit tight on the warp. Okay, so I'm just going to keep weaving until I get to about 3.5 inches down from the top. I just had a thought of something that you can do if you're like, ooh, I would like to use like a pickup stick type situation. However, as it's getting a little tight, you can see that it's a bit difficult for me. I think what I should have done with this piece is once I warped it to just flip my loom around and actually start weaving at what is the top. So weaving in the hand spun first so that you can use the pickup stick because all this would be just open. And then just weaving it fully upside down and then flipping it around for whatever needle felting and stuff is gonna be happening next. So just a thought, it would make it a little bit easier. Okay, can I just say, I am very pleasantly surprised with how much I like this yarn. Again, I do think there's a few improvements, but it is giving night sky, and the variation is very interesting. And I love the little flecks of the white string coming through to really add that star effect. Now, I'm getting ahead of myself, but like I definitely want to put a moon somewhere, and we're gonna needle felt some stuff in the foreground as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and tuck in all of these ends so that we can get started with like really making this come to life. All right, so here is what we were working with so far. Again, loving the variation in this yarn. And I am kind of going back and making sure that the top of this is sitting where it's supposed to be, because I think I kind of smushed it down a little bit when I was tucking in the ends. So I just want to make sure I'm not shoving it down. Okay, I have some thoughts about what I want to do on top of this, and they involve, I think, a mountain range. I was thinking kind of this gradation of mountains. So I could start with like I'm just kind of pulling it out here, with a black, and then move into this more dark grayish blue, and then finally into this lighter, slightly lighter gray. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And then along with that, I would like to do a moon of some sort, but I can't decide if that moon should be more of a yellow moon, just to kind of really make it pop, or if it should be a white moon or something in between. Now, already I can tell you what I'm struggling with in this piece. There might be another house, don't hate me, but I always just feel like this type of piece can easily lack a focal point. And I think that focal point is really what ultimately amplifies a piece like this. That's what I have felt in my own work that I've been doing lately. And that's like the beauty of art. There's so many different ways to go about it. There's so many different strategies to take in terms of what do we want the overall feel to be. But I am kind of already wondering if I want to do a little house, maybe in a slightly darker color, and then have the windows be maybe a yellow as well, so that there's sort of like this glow, this warm glow coming from the house. I'm already thinking that the moon is going in this area because I don't really want to cover up this little bit of white that actually came through. That's why I'm thinking, because this section you can see is really dark, whereas these sections have that bit of white. So I think this would be a good spot. I'm struggling with where to start though, because while I want this mountain range, I don't know how to make sure it looks defined, I guess. I'm gonna probably have to look at a few references for a little bit and just get my head wrapped around what it is I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna do that, and then we'll begin needle felting. All right, I think I've concluded, as always, that apparently this is my catchphrase. I just need to go for it. I just need to start and see where it takes me. For a second, I'll tell you about my thought process a little bit, just so that you can maybe understand where the heck I'm going. Does anyone understand that? I don't even understand that. I had some thoughts. I was looking at different paintings. I use Pinterest a lot just to look at a variety of references. I really try not to cling on to one reference, because then we get into copying territory. Or I'll use something like Unsplash, not sponsored or anything, but just a site where you have access to copyright-free images. So then if you do want to kind of copy something, that would be the place to do it, versus finding a painter and then copying their work. That is what I'm trying to avoid. So I try to look at like a lot of different references to sort of see what kind of direction I might want to go in. And I've looked at so many, and I wasn't really finding anything that I felt was like, yeah, that would make sense. So it kind of comes down to then I think I just have to start. One of the references I had looked at, actually more than one, was that it wasn't all sort of like this gray and beige tone or gray and black tone. It was like there was still some sort of green to it. So I thought, oh, maybe that could be cool. But then I just felt like that doesn't really work for this piece because I've already done the black fringe, and I guess I'm kind of worried about this feeling like two separate pieces if I were to bring in this green. So I even went and grabbed one of the other pieces I've created and I was like, let's just pretend. And I sort of folded it over and I was like, there's such a disconnect here for me. So I don't think that, and I mean, this is very light, so that's not helping either, but I just don't think that I want to bring in a bunch of warm colors on this piece because everything is so like cool and dark right now. So I think that I should kind of stay in that realm, except with the exception of sort of some yellow that's probably going to go into the moon. This is sort of a mixed yellow and off-white. I'm not even going to felt that in yet. I'm just kind of placing it there as a like, I think I want to do this. Then I was thinking about my gradation of mountains, and that already feels too, this feels very painterly. I want the bottom to feel really painterly. So I'm kind of thinking I'm going to do what I've done in the skies of my pieces before and really add a lot of different colors to create some variation in this piece. So my thoughts are that I want to create, I guess, almost more of a hill shape than like a full-on mountain. And I love that one mountain could actually have multiple different colors just based on the light. So I think that's where I'm going to start. We're going to add some black in the bottom. We're going to build it up with these other colors. I might bring in different colors, but I really stand firm that you can think ahead so much and try to plan. But sometimes when you're actually in it and you see it in person, those plans, you're just like, that actually doesn't really make sense. So that's often why I don't fully plan these beforehand. So I'm going to stop yapping and I'm going to get started. I'm noticing that it's definitely sucking in as I'm needle felting, which is, it makes sense. That's what needle felting does. It's gonna wanna really like tighten everything up. So I'm just kind of like stretching it back out every once in a while because I just don't want there to be sort of an indent here and have this go back out. I don't know how I feel about right here. I put some black, and I'm not sure that that was really the right choice. So I might take that out. And then I'm basically just gonna keep playing around with this until I feel like, okay, this makes sense. That being said, I do think I'm gonna have to add a little bit more definition because it's a little bit dull right now. So I might end up trying to add, let's say, like a really thin piece of white. I'm not entirely sure yet. And that's what I've kind of meant about like having to just sort of start and see where it goes. So I'm just gonna keep going, and I might have to do a house, you guys. It might have to happen. That being said, I might be able to do, let me just grab this piece behind me. So in this piece, I don't know that I would use the exact same colors, but you can see that I did a house that wasn't so white. And then even in these windows, I could have done more of a yellow to kind of create that glow. So I'm keeping that in mind as well. I don't know for sure that I'm doing the house, but we'll see where it all takes us. Another thing I'm thinking about is if I do this sort of yellowish moon. So if I do this yellowish moon, the other thing I could do is add some really, really thin bits of yellow kind of over the mountains, almost like that moon is sort of lighting up the tops of the mountains, because I think that could be really pretty. Just to add almost this yellow, I don't want to say haze, but it's just like this yellow glow over the mountains. I don't totally know yet. I'm going to keep on going, keep seeing where it takes me and what sort of like comes to be. I'm kind of letting it uncover itself to a certain extent. Okay, new idea. What if it was a tent instead of a house? A like kind of yellowy tent, so it's almost like there's light inside. I might do that, which would kind of tie in with sort of this mountain range idea as well. So I'm gonna keep that in mind. I think that's probably gonna be it. The other thing I'm trying to decide here is if I want a mixed color moon or if I want the moon to be full on yellow or full on white. I'm gonna keep thinking on that. I might just start the moon and then I can always layer on top of it to make it more either white or yellow as I go. Okay, so I'm just trying to add, I think, what will be sort of the last bit of detail to this piece. Part of me wonders if I should have put like this over here. And I'm also trying to decide if I want some sort of like of the moon cast over here as well. There's just something slightly unbalanced about it for me. So I'm trying to figure that out. One thing I am noticing that I think I want to do is I think I could add a little bit more definition to this tent kind of opening. All right, okay, what do I need? It just feels like it needs something. I'm not entirely sure what it is. Is it maybe like a little bit more of a glow around the camp area? That's what I'm sort of trying to decide. I just feel like there's a detail missing and I can't quite put my finger on it. What if just beyond the mountains I added a little bit of black? Maybe that's what it is. Like there's just some definition that needs to be added. Does that make sense though, is the question. Has to be very, like if I do this, I think it has to be super, super thin. Okay, so that's with, and that's without. I'm not sure that's what's missing. Does it need more light around? See, I don't know if that makes sense to add. Or does it just need more? No, not that. Huh. I can't put my finger on it. Cause yeah, it just feels like there's a bit of a disconnect and everything is so cool toned aside from like the moon and the tent area that I'm like, maybe it just needs that little bit of warmth added to it. But there's something that's telling me it's not quite there. So that's why I'm like, I guess I might as well try something because it just doesn't feel finished to me yet. So let's just try adding this little bit of a glow. So in the end, I ended up adding a little bit of this darker yellow color to kind of emulate that glow from the moon. And I think it really helped. It was just feeling so gray on the bottom. And because I have these two very bright yellow spots, I wanted to bring that warm color into other areas of the piece. So that's what I did over here on the mountains and just underneath the campsite area. And I think it kind of brought it together for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish off this piece. I'm gonna steam out the fringe, finish the bottom, all of that stuff. And then we're gonna have a look at it all completed. All right, you guys, it's all done. So let's have a look at the finished piece. I am so pleasantly surprised with how this all turned out. And again, thank you for all your encouragement on using this yarn. If you enjoyed this video, check out this one next and don't forget to subscribe.